Everybody. You're very welcome to the information session on our Masters in Childhood, Speech, Language and Communication Needs here at NUI Galway. So delighted to welcome you. So my name is Dr. Claire Carroll and I'm one of the directors of this course. And we also have...
I'm Dr. Mary Pat O'Malley, Claire's partner in crime and another co-director on the MSc Childhood SLCN.
That's super. So we just thought we'd do a kind of a Q&A, a very kind of easy, I suppose, we feel an interesting way, kind of very conversational piece. So I'm going to ask Mary Pat some questions and she'll enlighten us and answer them, I hope. So anyway, so Mary Pat, like, why would somebody, do this course?
Okay, so basically the course is, as Claire said, it's called an MSc in Childhood Speech, Language and Communication Needs. So for anyone who'd have an interest in learning more about children who have speech, language and communication needs and the different contexts of their lives, like the clinic, the classroom and the community, this would be a good course to do.
Okay, well, thanks. And what have other students said about it? Like, that would make, I suppose, me want to, or a prospective student, like, why should they do it, I suppose, in knowing more what current students or past students have said?
Okay, so our students really come from a wide range of backgrounds. So we've had people from early childhood sector, so people who own Montessori's or who work in creches and preschools. We've had primary school teachers, speech and language therapists, people with backgrounds in law and people with backgrounds in arts. And the feedback has been very positive. So for example, a teacher said that it really made her CV stand out from the crowd when she had this master's on her CV. It was another string to her bow. And certainly in terms of the student experience then as well, they're very positive and say how approachable the staff are in terms of helping them with any difficulties they're encountering. And also we work, like in each of the modules, to make the information applicable in a range of different life contexts, and students get the opportunity to think about how what the material we cover either relates to their personal life, their professional life now, or in the future.
Okay, well, thanks. So it's a very varied in terms of then the types of, I suppose, backgrounds that students have and that come on the course. So
Absolutely.
And that's, yeah, good to hear. So teachers, early years practitioners, and then we've had, I suppose, nursing background.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as well as a range of health and social care professionals. Yes, so that's great. Okay, so you've answered my next question, which was, who is it for?
Yeah, and actually you could extend beyond those. So we've talked about the early childhood educator people, the primary school teachers, nursing. We've like nursing in terms of public health nursing or disability nursing, people with a background in arts, law, and a wide variety of people. We've had applications from people who are interested in, let's say, music therapy or who have a background in that kind of music therapy or play therapy. And it's also, again, it comes back to really like a master's is an academic exercise or an academic pursuit. So it's an intellectual stretch. And you'd be covering like information on a wide range of topics in different formats, really engaging with the research literature and reflecting on how it's applicable in your work and in your life.
Okay. And Mary Pat, like, you're saying there, yeah, that it's a master's, and then, what about the student who's in, finishing their degree at the moment, versus somebody who's out in the workplace a number of years, does that make a difference? Is it better to come straight from your degree, or?
Well, actually, in a way, I think it doesn't really matter because there are pros and cons for each. So for the person who's finishing their degree and they're not sure where they want to go, it's a really good option, because if you do the full-time option, you will have an MSc in 12 months. So and you can spend that 12 months then as you're engaging with the material across the different modules that may inspire you in terms of your future career directions. And when you're a student in the university, then you have access to the Student Careers Development Centre, and they can help you if you're not really sure where you want to go. We have had students in the past who've come onto the programme just when they finish their degree and then realise while they're doing it, oh, I think actually I'd like to be a social worker. So they finish the MSc and then go on to do, a qualification, something else. So, and we've also had speech and language therapists, new grads, come on board just when they finished, which is useful too, because, you know, with the employment situation or just things can move slowly. So if you're waiting for things to happen from a job perspective, you can actually complete the master's in a year and have your MSc at the end of 12 months in the full-time option. Then for people, let's say, who have been out of the education system for a while and want to come back, we have lots of supports in the university for people, let's say, who've been out of the system for a while. So there's the Academic Writing Centre, which can help you with how to write essays, for example. We also have input from the library, where librarians come and talk to the students or take the students on a tour of the library and take them through, let's say, kind of what are the resources available. And the library has fantastic resources for learning. So either way, like, you will be looked after, I think, in terms of what your needs are.
Right. Well, it sounds like NUIG is the place to study by what you're saying, Mary Pat. So if I choose then NUIG and I'm thinking yes, and I'm choosing this course, like, what is the course like in general, really? What is the course about, you know?
Okay, so basically there are two options. So there's the full-time option where you would do all the modules in 1 year, 12-month period. And then there's the part-time option where you would do all of the taught modules in 1 year. And then the second year you would do the minor dissertation. So now might be a chance to go through, let's say, the specific modules. So I'm just going to share my screen with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. So you're saying then if I'm a full-time student, I'll be doing 6 modules in the year. But if I'm a part-time student, I'll be doing 5 in 1 year and then 1 module in my second year.
In the second, yeah. Okay. So actually, I'm just looking there now. It doesn't have the names of the modules, but that's all right. I know them anyway. So we'll say the modules are the 2 that I deliver. There's God, I'm drawing a blank. Narratives in childhood is the first one I'll talk about, and that focuses on storytelling in childhood, as in 2 senses really. One, in the sense of like assessing a child's language, and we know in the early childhood curriculum and in the primary school curriculum, stories or narrative is woven into the curriculum. So we're looking in this module at, let's say, where children have difficulties with narratives and what we can do to help. But we also look at narrative in terms of identity, and Dr. Rena Lyons, who is another member of staff in the discipline, teaches on that topic in the narrative module. So then there's cultural and linguistic diversity, and in social, cultural, linguistic diversity in health and education is another module I deliver. And that's where we look at definitions of like, what is culture? What is multilingualism, for example? What is cultural awareness or cultural competence? And then we look at it in relation to, let's say, children with speech, language and communication needs. So those are those 2 modules. Then there's a using evidence in practice module, which looks at, it kind of is what it says on the tin, really, looking at the research and how research papers are constructed and how the studies are carried out and how we can apply what we read in the literature to, let's say, clinical practice or to the classroom or to the community. Let's say, for example, if you're somebody who's working in a community organisation. Then there is supporting children with speech, language and communication needs that you deliver, Claire, in semester 2 for the full-time, or in semester 2 rather, sorry. And that looks in more detail then at the kinds of speech, language and communication needs children can experience and how they can be supported in the clinic, the classroom, creche and community. Then we have advanced research methods, which is run in conjunction with the School of Nursing. And so you would be like doing those topics with a group of other students, and the using evidence in practice and the advanced research methods will really help you kind of set the foundation for your minor dissertation. And the minor dissertation, if you are doing the full-time option, is a year-long module, and if you're doing the part-time option, you would do it in your second year. And this is where you select a research topic and you conduct an independent piece of research with supervision from members of staff in the discipline. I'm just looking here, it might be no harm to digress there for a moment about the 3 good reasons, that what we said was that it will suit a health, education or social care profession or someone who's interested in childhood communication impairments. As long as you have, in terms of eligibility, let's say a primary degree with a second class honours or higher, you would be eligible. So, you know, you may do it because you're interested in children with communication impairments and want to know more. And you will learn then how to engage, support, educate and help children with speech, language and communication needs from birth to 18 years in the different contexts of their lives. If they're coming into the speech and language therapy clinic, or you're an SNA, let's say in a classroom, a creche or the community. And you will learn how to facilitate these children so that they can participate fully in their lives in relation to speech, language and communication.
So we're very welcome there. Just to say thank you, Mary Pat. There for we've another person in the session. So please feel free to add questions into the chat box there, or add any comments or any queries that you have, because we're here live and we would be delighted to answer queries or to engage, you know, in a chat with you. So please do.
And I think there as well, Claire, the testimonials from former students are good to look at there as well. So we had Tara, who's a Montessori school owner and manager, and she said that the mix of professions in the class cohort allowed for kind of great discussion about and listening to other perspectives and learning from each other. And she felt that the learning from the course gave her a newfound confidence in supporting all children and families in her Montessori school. And then another one from Breed, who's a speech and language therapist, and she says that the flexible blended learning style allowed her to apply what she was learning to clinical practice. And the topics covered throughout the course equipped her with the skills necessary for working with children and families within Ireland's ever-growing culturally diverse population.
Brilliant. And thanks, Mary Pat. And they're, you know, very interesting testimonials there from 2 of our past students. And it kind of brings me on to my next question, really. You've kind of shared with us that there are 6 modules, so it is intense. And I suppose it's, again, just wondering then how, you know, like we're thinking about our busy prospective students. So how is the course delivered, Mary Pat? So how would these 6 modules be delivered?
Okay, so we have a flexible blended learning approach because we take into consideration the fact that many of our students will actually be working maybe full time while they are completing the MSc. So we have a mixture really, and of course then COVID threw everything kind of, you know, into disarray. So we had to adjust to that. So at the moment, what it looks like is, let's say, for example, in the diversity module, as I call it, there's a schedule for every week and you get an announcement is sent every week for what are your jobs for this week. So the jobs would include things like, for example, there will be videos put up on a particular topic that you will have to watch, for example, covering course content. Then there would be journal articles that you would read and you'd have to create a journal entry. So there's like 5 journal entries over the course of the semester, and I give you a template for what I want you to pick out of the journal article and report back on. Then there would be extra readings in there as well and extra videos that you can look at your own discretion. And then every week, basically, we have on Thursday afternoons, starting from 3:30 up until 5:30, there are 2 tutorials. So there would be, and at the moment they are online, and before, let's say, when the internet was working in the university, we would have had live on campus sessions where people who live nearby can actually come in and be face to face. And then we had Zoom running simultaneously, live and recorded, for people who could either be there remotely or who would want to watch later. So we meet every week on a Thursday afternoon, maybe with 2 tutorials, one from different module, but we have a very well set out schedule, which you get at the beginning in order to kind of to plan your time over the semester.
Thanks, Mary Pat. And what would happen if you couldn't attend on a Thursday afternoon?
So the session would be recorded. So you'd let us know in advance, and then the session is recorded as a matter of course anyway. And then the recordings are uploaded onto Blackboard, which is the kind of the learning system for students in NUI Galway. And then if there were slides accompanying the tutorial, the slides would be up on Blackboard as well. And you could watch it in your own time then.
So that's it. I was just going to say that. So effectively, really, I can do a lot of this work all on my own. You know, offline and in my own time with my own schedule in mind. And then, connect with my peers on a Thursday afternoon and with lecturers on a Thursday afternoon. And absolutely. I don't have to travel to NUIG.
No, you don't have to travel to NUIG if it doesn't suit. You can if and when it does suit you. And then as well, we also encourage the group of students to have, let's say, a WhatsApp group, so that that there is a social kind of element, or that people connect with each other as well. So if you are, attending remotely, that you don't feel kind of isolated. So to bear that in mind as well. And we also, another thing we have is we have 2 student reps from the group, and then we meet, let's say, midway through each semester to see how things are going and to get feedback and to see, do we need to tweak anything if things aren't going well? How can we support students further? And then at the end of each semester, there's also an anonymous survey where students can give feedback as well. And just to give you an example to show like how we respond to feedback. So last year, for example, somebody gave the feedback that in the tutorials they wanted more, let's say, kind of theoretical models or to explore. So this was, let's say, in the diversity module. So this year what I did was I have a talking point for each tutorial, which is actually, let's say, a model of, let's say, working with interpreters, and there's a framework for how you do that. So we have a discussion point for each of our tutorials now. So that's just to show that we do take the feedback seriously. And the other thing, actually, just in relation to people who are prospective students that we're going to do for the coming year, is that, so the process is people apply, we review the applications, and then we either make an offer, we can make a firm offer, or we can make a conditional offer. Let's say if there's some information missing, or then no offer. But where people have accepted the offer, we're going to offer a welcome pack in terms of like pre-registration, because for people, let's say, who are not familiar with speech and language therapy terminology, we have a nice document with kind of a glossary of what terms are. For people who are kind of maybe feel intimidated about reading a journal article, we'll include in it a paper on how to actually read a journal article. So if you want to pre-registration, you could do a bit of prep before you came in.
Mm-hmm. Because I think you're right, Mary Pat, like starting in September, whereas often you've made those decisions or you've got your offer, we're always in email contact with you prior to starting, usually over June and July, with this information. So it kind of gives you just a little bit of information. We also have our timetable, draft timetable usually ready, and our handbook often in draft form, near ready. So we share that with students that get firm offers or also conditional offer students. So that's good. Okay, thanks. And I suppose, Mary Pat, how many places are there? That'll be one of the questions I think that somebody might have.
Sure. So we have a maximum number of places of 20. And then just, which leads me on to, I suppose, thinking about, who's eligible to apply. So in relation to eligibility, then you need a primary degree with at least a second-class honours or an equivalent qualification. When you apply, you have to also submit a personal statement of why you want to do the course. So we look at that obviously in detail as well to see what is people's motivation, to join the program. If you're an international student, then we have an English language requirement of an IELTS score of 6.5 in total, with no less than 6.5 in any one component. However, there are some situations in which we can waive the English language requirements. Let's say, for example, if your primary degree is in English, we can take that into consideration when offering a place.
That sounds great. And I suppose what I'm thinking about now, I mean, there's no questions in the chat, so I'm not sure if our guests have any questions, but I suppose so please type in or ask if you have a question. I suppose I was just thinking myself about funding, Mary Pat. Like master's programs are quite expensive, and I just wondered, were there any opportunities, particularly within NUIG, for any funding or bursaries or scholarships?
So I suppose that's where your initiative comes into play, where you have a look on because it changes from time to time, and certainly. Yeah, I don't want to say anything definite in case I get the information wrong. So I'd be looking at the website really, because I know there are schemes maybe sometimes depending on your final year results. that might make you eligible. But the best thing really to do is search the website and see if there are opportunities there. Or if you're, let's say, an employee in the HSE, sometimes there might be the opportunity where they will sponsor the fees. But again, it depends on your own individual circumstance. You might know more about that than we would say. Yeah.
And I'd say also the possibility, you know, that there are other general talks as part of this open day. And I would guide you, you know, to have a look at those and, you know, to look at them again. So there are opportunities maybe for scholarships, as Mary Pat said, where you've gotten a first class honours in, you know, your degree, particularly in NUIG. So just to watch that, so there'll be kind of more general talks about funding.
Because the thing is really that we'll say, as we're the co-directors of the Masters, and what our role really is we process the applications. So we review the applications and then we offer the place, and anything to do then with, let's say, fees or registration or anything like that is through the relevant office. So let's say the fees office or the postgraduate admissions office. So we would always direct people to the respective office really to address the query.
Yeah, I think the postgraduate admissions help desk is the best, you know, place, I suppose, to get the information. And and look at the Open Day webpage. There'll be a lot of information on that. Also, I think which might be helpful, I think, is that we do have a Facebook page. We do have a Twitter account. And I think it might be helpful for you to connect with us on those.
I agree, Claire. It'd be great to see you because I manage the Facebook page. It would be great to see you on Facebook, and you can see in the thread, like, it gives you a window into the culture of the Masters, really, by virtue of what it is we put up there. So there's a lot of posts I put up about diversity. And for example, I came across a talk that's running this week about having an accent and identity, which would fit in with the diversity module, but it's more like informal. So, you know, it's a good place to see kind of what we're at.
Yeah, and connect with us and follow. And I think that it might, as Mary Pat said, help you in terms of getting an idea as well of some of the content, I think, of modules.
And the other thing I would say, Claire, as well about that is that you will also see where, for example, in the past, we have some of the students, their minor dissertation, they've gone on to actually publish their dissertation in a journal. So it gets written up as a journal article and submitted for publication. And we've had at least 2 so far have been published. Yes. So that could happen to you as well if you joined us.
Absolutely. Any questions now or anything from yourselves? Maybe we've been crystal clear. I'm not sure.
I think we covered everything anyway.
Or any comments or anything. So I'm just going to post there the Twitter handle there in the chat if I can. It's just for you there. It's at SLC Needs NUIG. So I think that would be super if you wanted to connect with us. That's the Twitter.
And I'm just looking up the Facebook
one
now. And the best way probably really to get us in a way is to email us. Just 1 second now.
So I'll also put in our emails there.
And we'd be delighted to hear from you.
Okay, so I just have the Facebook. Oh, Mary Pat put it up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do the, clear the emails.
Great. So just, you know, connect with us on Twitter and on Facebook, and any questions, and you can also private message us on Twitter and Facebook. So do that if there's any queries or any questions, or as Mary Pat said, email. Some people have very particular questions that they'd like answered, and we're available, you know. Any questions for our 2 guests?
Actually, yeah, I have a question for, if you're happy to answer, is what made you come along to the session today?
Okay, thanks,
Karen, background studies in social care. Oh yeah, we've had people from social care before, and it's a good fit, really.
Yeah, because it really extends, I would say, your training, because it really adds, I would say, for yourselves in terms of connecting with children, and also then there's transferable skills to adults who have speech, language, and communication needs. So yeah, so wonderful. And you work with children with special needs as well, Karen. So, and that's the beauty, I would say, particularly in the second semester, we have one of the modules that I'm involved in, that we actually meet two people who have speech, language, and communication needs, and you work with these cases to try and apply then the learning from both semester one and semester two to it. So that's helpful. And I think if you have some background experience, brilliant. It's not necessary, but it does. It's like everything, your own life experience really helps, you know.
Oh, absolutely, Jane. We cover loads to do with that in the diversity module. Great question, Karen. The closing date we're very flexible, really, with our closing date. So I think technically it says mid-July, but we really let it go until August.
Yeah, well, on the 2021 prospectus page that Mary Pat shared there, it was the 15th of August in 2021. So more than likely it'll be that again. We do have 20 places on the masters. But again, I would say to you, it's very important to get in, if you can, a bit earlier to secure your place.
I agree, Claire. And then because you can get the welcome, the pre-registration package, and you can kind of get preparing yourself for the semester to organize yourself and lay in some of the foundation work.
Yeah. So that's kind of over the summer. Usually it's August, but do you know what I mean?
Because the semester begins. Sorry. Yeah. So the semester began this year on the 6th of September. So it runs for 12 weeks. And then there were no exams. It's all continuous assessment.
That's right.
So for example, in the narratives in childhood, it's an essay. And then there are 5 journal entries that are marked on a pass-fail basis. So you just have to complete those by the end of semester. And then the diversity module, there was 2 essays and 5 journal entries, because that's a 15-credit module. Your minor dissertation would be a dissertation. And then so basically if it's a 5-credit module, it would have, or 10-credit module rather, would have 2 pieces of coursework or 2 assignments. So it's all continuous assessment. So you needn't worry. I think
that's a good thing, because some people worry about exams. And if you haven't been in, I suppose, in education very recently, people worry about that. So, and we forgot to say that in talking about the course, but yeah, it's all continuous. And then I suppose what is important as well is that when you come in, sometimes it's a master's level, expectations are a little bit different. And there is that piece where you get feedback, particularly on the first assignment. It's one of Mary Pat's modules where there is that piece of giving you feedback so that you can, if needed, then to make it better, to resubmit it. Do you know what I mean? So there's that piece, isn't there, of support.
Well, that's a very good point to think, Claire, is actually that if you, depending on the background you've come from educationally, it can be, a steep learning curve in terms of like just learning what are the expectations. Because it's a master's, it is going to be a stretch intellectually. It's meant to be a stretch. So that can take just a while to kind of get used to. And some people then, let's say on their first assignment, may be disappointed because they have written it in the way that they are used to. And we do a lot of support. We have question and answer sessions about would say essay writing and helping students kind of to keep to the point, let's say, and do the referencing correctly. So there's a lot of support. And that first assignment is really good because it sets you up then for the rest of the assignments, because you get very detailed feedback about how to improve things.
Yeah, that's super. Okay. So
Yeah.
I thank you for your engagement there, Karen and Jane. And I just wonder, are there any other questions or any other points that you'd like to raise before we finish up? No, thanks, Mela. Okay. And the closing, yeah, we answered that about the closing date. That's super. Okay, well, all I can say is thank you from me.
And from me, sorry, my little girl is coming home from school now, so there's now noise in the background.
All right. So thank you, everybody. And we look forward to answering further questions of yours or any information that you may come up with now as you start kind of thinking more about what you'd like to do. We hope to see you in September.
Exactly. And the best of luck.
Best of luck. Big decisions. Okay.
Thanks a
lot.
Bye.